This video explains exactly how the Panama Canal lifts a 200,000-ton ship high above sea level using only water and gravity. There are no cranes, no giant elevators, and no machines physically hauling the ship upward at any point in the process. Instead, the canal floats each ship up a giant water staircase, and gravity alone does almost all of the heavy work. The reason a ship must climb at all is that the middle of Panama sits far higher than either ocean. At the very heart of the crossing sits Gatun Lake, a huge artificial lake resting about 85 feet above sea level. So every ship crossing Panama has to be raised 85 feet up to that lake, then lowered back down again. 85 feet is roughly the height of an 8-story building, and the canal lifts entire loaded ships to that height. Here is the detail most people miss. The ship's enormous weight barely matters because the water itself is doing the lifting. A floating ship pushes aside its own weight in water, so it rides on the surface no matter how heavy. Raise the water underneath that ship, and it simply rises with the water, exactly like a rubber duck in a filling bathtub. So the canal never needs to lift the steel, it only needs to lift the water, and the ship comes along. This water lifting happens inside giant concrete boxes called locks, and understanding just one single lock explains how the whole canal works. Each lock chamber is a massive concrete-walled tank, 110 feet wide and roughly 1,000 feet long. At each end stands a pair of enormous watertight steel gates that can seal the chamber shut like a bathtub plug. A ship sails into the chamber at the lower level, and the gates behind it swing closed and seal tight. Now the ship is trapped inside a sealed box, floating on water at the lower ocean or lower lake level. Then valves open, and water from the higher level upstream rushes into the chamber through tunnels built inside the walls. These tunnels, called culverts, are 8 feet across, wide enough to drive a truck straight through the middle of them. The water does not pour in from the top. Instead, it wells up through about 100 holes in the floor. Spreading the flow across 100 floor holes keeps the water calm, so the huge ship barely rocks while rising. As the chamber fills, the water level climbs, and the floating ship rises smoothly along with it, staying perfectly level. One chamber fills in roughly 8 to 15 minutes, lifting the entire ship about 28 feet in that single step. When the water inside matches the higher level upstream, the front gates open, and the ship sails out one step higher. And here is the part that still amazes engineers. Not a single pump is used anywhere in this entire system. All the water flows purely by gravity, draining downhill from Gatun Lake into each chamber whenever the valves are opened. Water always seeks its own level, so the high lake simply flows down to fill the lower chamber until equal. To lower a ship, the process reverses. Valves drain water out of the chamber, and the ship sinks gently down. One chamber only lifts a ship about 28 feet, but the ship needs to climb the full 85 feet up. So the locks are stacked in a flight, like steps on a staircase, each one lifting the ship a little higher. On the Atlantic side, the Gatun locks use 3 chambers in a row to climb the full 85 feet upward. The ship climbs step, 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 rising about 28 feet in each chamber until it reaches Gatun Lake at the top. It then sails across the lake for miles, floating high above the surrounding land, before descending toward the opposite ocean. On the Pacific side, 2 more lock sites, Pedro Miguel and Miraflores, step the ship back down to sea level. Pedro Miguel drops the ship 1 step, and the 2 Miraflores chambers lower it the rest of the way down. Altogether, the original canal has 12 of these chambers, 6 of them for climbing up and 6 for stepping down. The whole trip from one ocean to the other, climbing up and back down, takes a ship roughly 8 to 10 hours. Now look closer at those gates, because they hold back millions of gallons of water and hide a clever trick. Each gate is made of 2 huge steel leaves that meet in the middle, forming a shallow V pointing upstream. That V shape is the trick. The weight of the higher water pushes the two leaves together, sealing them tighter and tighter. The harder the water pushes, the more firmly the gates lock shut, so the water pressure seals its own doors. Clever, right? These gates stand up to 82 feet tall and 7 feet thick, and the heaviest single leaf weighs around 700 tons. Yet each of these massive gates is hollow inside and partly buoyant, floating like a ship's hull to reduce its weight. Because they nearly float, surprisingly small motors can swing these 700-ton doors open and closed with very little effort at all. And the gates only ever open when the water on both sides is exactly equal, so there is no pressure fighting them. While all this happens, the ship must stay perfectly centered so it never scrapes the concrete walls just beside it. The chambers are so tight that a large Panamax ship may have only 2 feet of clearance on each side. To keep it straight, small electric locomotives called mules ride along tracks on top of the lock walls beside the ship. Thick steel cables run from these mules to the ship, holding it centered and steady as it moves through the locks. Here is a common mistake. The mules do not pull the ship forward, they only guide it and stop it drifting. The ship moves forward under its own engine power, while typically 6 or 8 mules keep it perfectly aligned and centered. All of this precise lifting comes at a real cost, and that cost is measured in enormous amounts of fresh water. Every single ship that crosses drains roughly 52 million gallons of fresh lake water down into the ocean and away. That water comes from rainfall filling Gatun Lake, which means a serious drought can actually limit how many ships pass daily. To fix this, a third and much wider set of locks opened in 2016 to handle far larger modern container ships. These new locks add water-saving basins beside each chamber, giant side tanks that catch and reuse most of the draining water. Instead of dumping all the water into the sea, these basins recycle about 60% of it for the next ship. So the whole Panama Canal is really one elegant idea. Don't lift the ship, just lift the water beneath it. Gravity fills the chambers, buoyancy floats the ship, and simple V-shaped gates hold it all together with almost no machinery. That is how a 100-year-old water staircase still lifts the heaviest ships on Earth, using little more than rain and gravity.